right. So we're going to go ahead and get started because I'm super excited about this one. And I'm sure more people are going to roll in, but if not, they can clip the recording part of this. So good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, good evening, depending wherever you are. Really excited to bring together this workshop today. Want to really thank Michael because I know he slammed us together in just probably less than a week, if we're being honest. But Michael was a former member of Launch. He's a longtime supporter. He's got a whole bio, so I don't want to take away his shine there. So he'll explain a little bit about his background and where he's done building product. But we were really just conversating because his latest company, has found some interesting initial traction, and they use some methods that were unique to them. And one of the big topics that we've been talking about within members and within alumni here is just trying to find that initial market traction, finding that market pull, hence the slides. So without further ado, I'll just introduce Michael here, and I'll let him introduce himself and take away. And if you guys have any questions, I think we have a Q&A, we have a chat, feel free, and then I'll try and kind of wave Michael down so he can focus on his presentation.
Yeah, thanks so much, Sam, for the introduction there. And I want to talk about kind of our story and our approach to finding market pull and some of the mistakes that we made so that you don't have to make those mistakes. This is just a few slides, so here, just interrupt me whenever, ask questions, whatever you want. I'm here to answer anything you wish, and I'll make it more interesting as well. So like Sam said, I've been in the startup ecosystem for like 11 years, I think. So I remember the first days of Launch there. I just picture brick buildings and brick walls, and it was a fun time to be in startup land there. So I worked on a bunch of different startups over time. Worked on a bunch of bigger ones like Clue, that's still around. So I was there. Just me and Jason, the co-founder of Clue, were there. I was working on that with him, so I got to see how he approaches it, and I got to see other companies. Ollie Order was one of them as well, where I saw an exit as well out of that startup, small exit. I was a founding engineer, so I was an employee at a bunch of those startups, and then I tried my own startups throughout the time. I had an agency before as well, and I killed 2 startups already. Zero Idle was the first startup I've ever done. That was like 11 years ago. It was a marketplace for event organizers to find event spaces. Well, done way back, and then Picture That was an augmented reality app that we built to help you visualize pictures on the wall. And that's doing actually okay. That's still on the App Store. It just doesn't have revenue. I never actually put any revenue behind it. And my agency was doing really well. So focus on where the money is at. And then I left those things, and I started my own startup again. I was kind of ready to do that. I was called. At first, I tried doing a whole bunch of things that didn't make any sense. I tried things from trying to do a search tool for companies, kind of like Algolia at one point, talked to a bunch of companies. Nobody got too excited about it. So I moved on to the next idea, which was to build an editor for creating job ads for you. So I talked to recruiters, didn't like that. And then I started talking to kind of marketers, trying to build the next version of design tools. Did that for about a year before I met my co-founder. And then we met our co-founder and changed our approach completely. And that's what I wanted to talk to about today, is what we did differently than all these other times that I've done startups. We've done it very differently this time. And I think that's what led to the growth and success that we had with this new business here as well. And so now we're working on CreativeFlow. It's an animation platform for designers to make it really easy for them to create animations. We're raising some money right now, and we got some traction raising some money, got some money from the government as well. But I'll talk about the start of the story so that you learn something from it. So the goals today is to help you generate new ideas. I know you don't need to have too many new ideas, but it's good to have good ideas there as well, not just bad ideas. The next step would be to start collecting some evidence against these ideas to start proving demand. And then setting up experiments and actually proving that demand actually exists. That's kind of how I want you to think about things. It's our approach. There's many approaches in startups over time that you will learn, and it's different for every company, but it's always good to have a couple of approaches in there. So the first thing we should talk about is where do we find new ideas and where do ideas come from? So really, there's only 3 areas that ideas come from, or 3 directions you can approach getting ideas. You can start with a solution first. So for example, you want to create an AI startup. So AI solves a whole bunch of problems in different industries. So you can start there. You can start ideating different industries that you're interested in and start. That's how Picture.ai came about. Augmented reality came out. Apple in 2017 came out with ARKit. And started brainstorming ideas to be one of the first apps on the App Store to have ARKit in there. And that's how that worked. You can start with a problem as well. So it's a problem that you usually faced or that you've seen in your journey, like incorporating companies. Maybe that's a problem that you want to solve. And then you can also start with an audience first. So if you started with incorporating companies is really hard, you can focus on founders, or you can focus on lawyers, for example, in there. So if you have a community of lawyers, you can actually solve, and it's going to be a very different solution. And the intersection of all these 3 things is where product market fit lives in there. So it doesn't really matter where you start. You still have to have all 3 things in there to have product market fit. And I'll argue that knowing your audience is going to be one of the most important things in there, because that really is going to drive how you're going to prove if there's demand or not. And that's how you're going to evaluate if there's value or not, who has value in that. Like, can startup founders pay for incorporating companies? Yes, a little bit, but can lawyers pay? Absolutely. So if you focus on lawyers, it's just going to build a bigger business, perhaps, if you understand that industry and if you see traction there. So the first step is to brainstorm those ideas from those 3 areas. So there's an example of, we just grabbed Notion for us, and we had a whole bunch of ideas. One of them was to export GIFs from Figma export animation, out of Figma as a GIF or video. So we had that idea there. We had ideas about managing copy in Figma. We had ideas about creating social media posts from spreadsheets with Figma, kind of dynamic content generation around there. And we had stuff that didn't have anything to do with Figma or any of those things, like email countdown timer, like a marketing countdown timer you put in emails and things like that. And then the next step is we actually went and we tried to find evidence for demand. So we actually went to Reddit. We went to, in this case, it was Figma forums in there to see demand. And we wanted to see how many people talk about it, how many upvotes, how many replies. And we just have a page in our Notion there that just lists evidence, a bunch of URLs, and then we put a number next to it. And the number is usually the number of replies, the number of upvotes. In this case, I'll put like 603 in this case, because I found evidence that people really want it in there. And then we just add it to our list here, like so. And we can actually sort by the upvotes. And we also give it points for if people are going to pay for it or not. And that's just our own take on what people are willing to pay for. And then we'll set up an experiment to prove that people are willing to pay for it. But we put $signs. Our goal was to generate revenue. In this case, if your goal is to just have users, it might not matter for you. But our goal was to generate revenue and try it out. We also just wanted to try out a co-founder relationship with my founder at that time. So we created a really small hackathon, 3-day hackathon, and we brainstormed these ideas and we picked the idea that we liked the most based on that. So we picked the export GIF or video in there because that's what people were asking for. And then we just...
Hey, Michael, sorry, real quickly. 2 quick questions on this part. One is for the valuation of like people are willing to pay money for it. How did you kind of validate that? Was it simply as like those 563 people, you asked them, like, would you pay for it? Were they actually putting in deposits or whatever?
Yeah. So the big lesson here is that we're not even ready to talk to people yet. We're still trying to look at secondary research, trying to understand what has high probabilities. You can look at competitors. You can look at Sales Safari is a technique I'm just going to mention in a second, but you pretty much dig through the problem itself and see what solutions people are offering. Are they recommending competitors? Are those competitors charging money? Can you do a better job than those competitors? Are people in general paying money for Figma plugins or not? Like all those kind of questions. Are people paying money for the email gift countdown timer? Yes or no? And how easy it is to get that money. So it's kind of a mix of a few things in there.
Awesome. And then my other question was regarding just like that initial number of votes that you guys kind of decided, okay, there's enough here to go on. I think one of the biggest struggles for a lot of folks is different product is like a different number. Obviously, if it's a consumer product, you want that number to be higher. Whereas if it was enterprise, you only had 3 interested, but those interested were Apple, Google, and Amazon. Like you might be okay, right? So like in terms of, you understanding your market versus the number of traction, for lack of a better term, that you felt like you needed to get to move forward. Like how do you kind of define that ratio, or any suggestions for folks that are kind of stuck in theirs, whereas maybe they have 15 or maybe they have 1,500, but it doesn't feel like they have enough to go on?
Yeah. So another like really, really big part of it that I kind of skipped over and I kind of forgot is the founder product fit or founder market fit itself. So for me, I love designers. Like I've done design for a very long time now. So it was the audience. I tried targeting marketers, tried targeting salespeople, tried targeting recruiters. I actually didn't like these verticals that much. So it's about like, who do you like? Do you like working with these people or not? That's like a really big part of it because you're going to be working with them a lot. So with that said, like once you define that, like designers, for example, exactly kind of what you said, I can go after Facebook, Google, and those big companies. But the issue there is it's easier to do a bottom-up evaluation in that case. So it's easier to go after a designer at Google, a designer at Facebook, than it is to go after a CMO at Facebook, right? Or to like their chief design officer or whatever role that is there. And their requirements are going to be much more complicated. It doesn't mean that we're not going to talk to them, but if we get their bottom staff excited about it, we'll just have a better opportunity to talk to them. So that's how I think about it personally. If you already have these enterprise connections and they're excited about a small problem, oh my God, you're ahead. Charge the money and build them something, solve their problem. All right. This also depends on your runway. Like for us, it was we're doing consulting at that time. We're doing this part-time. And we wanted to see the money like as fast as possible. So doing an enterprise deal was just a non-starter almost. It was just going to take too long. We didn't have like a year to do an enterprise procurement process. Now it's a bit different. Now we're going up to teams and so on. And we're kind of starting to look at some of those bigger deals. That's more interesting for us now, but you're just evaluating smaller ideas to start with, and it's just faster, I think. So hopefully that answers the question. And I kind of mentioned all these things you actually asked for. So once you actually pick the idea itself, the most likely idea or two that your team is excited about, and you can actually have the team participate, like me and my co-founder, we're actually building the roadmap, and we actually selected an idea. We just did this exercise. We did it a few times now. It wasn't just in the beginning. We just keep doing it, and it does work. It works for us really well. But Sales Safari is a technique by the founder of, or by the people from 30 by 500. It's a course. They teach you how to quickly do market validation and stuff like that. And they have a really interesting technique. They have a standalone video called Sales Safari. You should look it up. But the base premise of it is that you find a URL. So like the Figma the Figma upvoted URL there for GIFs, and I start looking at pain points. I just start listing things out that are pain points. I start listing out the jargon that they use, so the terminology. And then I start listing out the recommendations that people give, like how they're solving the problem today, in other words, or what people are saying. And that that'll help us scope out the exercise itself. Like, what is the actual problem? You found people want it, but what is it they actually want? So it'll help you kind of design that. You can look at competitors, see what you can do better, and then you can scope down an experiment to build something in about 2-3 days. That's all you really need to prove out an idea in there. So then we worked, we did a hackathon. That was actually us and our friend Daniel there on the left. So it's me and my co-founder. To my right is my co-founder. I'm just in the middle there. And we just hacked on it for 2 days how can we export GIFs? Let's build a very simple experiment with just one type of animation that we can support there. So we did that, and then we posted it on social media, and it blew up on social media here. So it won't always blow up. So sometimes people won't care at all on social media, but it gives you a signal to if you want to continue or not. In our case, it blew up on social media, and people were chasing us down for links. Like, it was crazy. Like, I've never had people, we were waiting for the review in the Figma community. It took 10 days for them to review us, but it takes usually 5 days. And people were just going kind of crazy. So I gave them a link to Gumroad and decided to charge them, ask them, pay what you want. And they, to my surprise and delight, they started paying for it. Like $1, $2, $5, $10, $15. And then we launched it. So once we were reviewed, we launched like a $9 a month plan there. And we kind of kept growing, grew it to 75K ARR now. And now we raised a little bit of money now, raising a bit more. And we got some money from the Canadian government to help dig deeper into the deeper problem. So at this point, this is where we actually started talking to customers. We just kind of kept interviewing customers, because before this point, we had no customers. We had users. Until they pay you money, they're not a customer. They're a prospect at best, and usually they're just a user and they're just kicking the tires. So it's a waste of resources to talk to them too early, and you don't even know who you're going to be talking to as well. So this kind of really helps you narrow down the people that care about it. And then you can niche down on the customers. And for us, it was just what they actually end up saying to us is like, oh, thanks to your plugin, we don't need to use After Effects anymore. And then I had to ask them, like, well, why is that a good thing? Like, why does it matter that you can't use After Effects? It seems like a great program. And they're saying stuff like, oh, it takes a long time to train our staff. It takes us a long time to iterate on projects. It costs us a lot of money. And then we just decided to, what if we actually built it like 1,000 times easier for them? What if we used AI to create animations? Because the problem is that it's really hard to create animations. And that's where we're at now. So we're trying to validate that approach now. And we got some money to do that. We got a PhD in machine learning to help us as well. We actually did a small proof of concept. We just proved the technical feasibility of it. And we proved that it was technically feasible to build it. And then now we're actually going after validating the market more of that. So that's kind of the journey there.
Awesome. Any questions from the audience? Thank you for that. Appreciate it. And so I don't know if you mentioned it, but what is your users looking at like right now, and how big's the team, and you know where are you guys currently at in terms of when you started to now?
Yeah, so we started in January, technically, officially. So it was just me and my co-founder. Now we hired the third, the PhD in machine learning. We have an advisor as well, an ML. So we're a team of 3 people now. Our ML person is starting next week, actually. And what is the other? Oh, where we are now. we actually just got an office as well. So we found that we work best in person because we just can iterate a lot faster in person. The communication is just way better in person. We tried to do the remote thing as well, just to save some money and extend our runway. But the communication was just way too slow. So we got a good deal for an office here in Olympic Village in Spaces on 8th and Cambly, right near the Whole Foods. If you guys know that area, just right across there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then in terms of like when you turned on monetization to now, like how many users are you looking at?
Yeah. So, so we have, actually these numbers. So we have 75K ARR. So it's like 6.3K MRR currently. We have 515 paying customers right now and 70,000 downloads there. And each day we have a couple of hundred at least, like using it, 300 at least. Yeah. No more actually. 500 a day probably or so. Cause I look in the morning periods, always, but about like 500 users each day at least use it there. We just keep like growing kind of over time. Now we're focused on the new bigger thing, which is the AI side of things. And we're trying to create ChatGPT for designers pretty much in the sense like, how we all excited about ChatGPT. That's what we're actually building. So we're building the mid-journey for vector animations right now. That's what excites us. Nobody's really doing it right now. Even in the academic literature, there's not a whole lot on that subject. And that's what excited all the PhD candidates that we talked to. And we didn't just hire these PhD candidates. The PhD, he did a postdoctoral. So he's actually, we actually poached him from another company. That's how, or we rescued him from another company, depending how you look at it. There, he was super bored. So he was really excited. And we're excited to see what he was so excited that he started working on this problem after hours. And he showed us the solution. And we were just blown away by what he showed us, like a custom character animation model that he built that already worked. We thought it was going to be like the third thing we do, but like, oh wow, we have to hire this guy.
That's amazing. Okay, so I definitely have a couple more questions, but I want to make sure that anybody else that has questions, feel free to plug away. If not, I'll just kind of continue and feel free to answer as little or as much as you can. I'm just super curious and really appreciative of your time here. I guess my first question was more around pricing. Pricing is another struggle that I think a lot of early stage companies go through when they're trying to, they might have gotten some validation like, hey, I want this. I might be willing to pay for it. Maybe they do a sales safari and things like that. How did you settle on like a certain price point? I'm assuming we're talking about SaaSes right now, right? So it's price per month.
Yeah, it's a SaaS, $9 a month.
Yeah. Like, how did you feel like, oh, we're charging too little and leaving money on the table, or you're charging too much? Like, where did you guys, maybe you and your co-founder, kind of have that discussion on where you lie?
Yeah, we're definitely charging too little and we're leaving money on the table there. So, because if you look at our website, even there's not a lot there. It's not even the pricing on the pricing. We're just so busy. We haven't had time to do some of those basic marketing things that we're so busy building the product because it was a complicated product to build and working with our customers and now fundraising. So to answer your question, we set it based on, so I said we did a pay what you want model, right? So we saw that people are willing to pay one time, they're willing to pay like up to $15. So we're like, okay, like what if we added a whole bunch of different features like MP4 exports on top of it. It wasn't just GIFs anymore. It was like MP4s in there. So we added that and we said like, okay, for the additional features, we're going to charge you $9 a month in there. Just seemed like a good price. I saw other plugins charging about that price. And some of the plugins now increased it to about $12 a month, and that's where we're going to go. We actually already announced the price increase there to $12 a month. The other thing you'll see that in here, you see there's a team of people. So we need a team plan. We don't have a team plan yet. So our team plan is going to be $50 a month. That's why we need to increase our price to $12 a month. So that's kind of where we're going next. And then talking to like agency plan and have an enterprise plan. Because if I showed you, we have some incredible logos that, let me actually show you, just so, from our pitch deck. Sorry, I have like so many versions of those pitch decks in there. This one, oh, this one's still there. Yeah, so I just want to show you, this is who uses our platform. So we have like 27 users from Meta in there. We have like 13, 14 users from Spotify. We have Microsoft users, Amazon users. I talked to some people at those companies, but I haven't done justice enough right now. I haven't talked to them enough. It's the individual designers there, so it's not the teams yet, but we want to go there as well and kind of talk to them. And so the other thing I'll tell you is that I realized recently is that when I started doing web development, I charged $100 for a website. Like that was the first website I ever built. It was for a restaurant. I charged $100 for that website. When I did my agency, we charged $250,000 per project or more. And I asked myself, like, what was the difference? Like, I build a website for a restaurant, or I build an e-commerce website for a company. What is the difference between the two things? And the only difference there was that I went after much bigger companies. So we went after companies with $10 million or more in revenue. And to them, $250,000 to actually add additional, like even 1% revenue, it just made sense, right? So you need to start going where the value is at one point. In other words, you just need to move up the ladder. And that's kind of what we're going to be trying to do. We're going to try to go up the ladder and deliver more value to. In our space, it's very similar. So we have things like animation studios there and VFX studios that create like episodes, for example, in there. And if they go over budgets, I talked to one of them and they went $2 million over budget for an episode. $2 million. That's a lot of money in there. And the person was a big studio, 200 people, and he almost lost his job for that. So if we can help him not go over budget by $2 million by using AI to automate some of those technical aspects of animation so they can iterate faster with their customers, with the networks and so on, that's where we'll charge more. We can charge $200,000 a year for that license. It makes sense. So hopefully that helps inspire some people.
And then this is a kind of a nitty gritty question, but in terms of, I'm presuming most of your customers are North American.
No,
was there any?
They're not.
They're not. Regardless, was there any debate about which currency to use? Canadian, USD, otherwise?
No, we had no debate. We're just going to use USD, and we're a global company. Like we have very few customers in Canada, actually. Mm-hmm. Most of them, we have a lot in the US, we have a lot in Europe, actually. And I did learn something very interesting about Europe, like Germany specifically. One of our users asked if they can pay by bank. And I was very confused by that. I'm like, don't you guys have credit cards? And he educated me that in Germany specifically, not a lot of people have credit cards in there. So you can actually, in Stripe, if you charge euros, you can actually connect it to bank accounts in Europe. And same with, like if you go to Asia, like China, or Alipay, I think Stripe has Alipay, and we can, if you charge it in their currency there, you can actually connect it to like WeChat or Alipay or stuff like that. And they'll just make it easier for your customers there, especially with a low price. Like $9 a month is not a lot of money. Honestly, or $12 a month is not a lot of money. So making it like really easy for them is a good thing. So we need to do better at that, to be honest with you. But yeah, based on US currency, we're a global company. We're not a Canadian company. That's not how I think about us at all.
Right. So to be kind of clear, like you charge in USD and then it's connected through Stripe. So on the other end, if it's somebody in German, they connect their bank account. If it's from China, they might connect their Alipay, but it's still processing through in the USD part.
Yeah, so far it's just USD, and then some people ask me for to pay, so I give them a special Stripe link. In the future, we're gonna be a bit smarter about it to detect the country and actually show the currency in that country, but the pricing will be based on USD and just convert it to those currencies.
Cool. That's super interesting for anybody that's using Stripe out there. I know we're using Stripe, so we're definitely interested.
Yeah. Do you use any like price? What's we
have an airlines use? We're like 2 months. We're like 2 months into the Stripe journey ourselves. So. Yeah.
Is that something that some of the members are using? Like different?
I think so. If you guys are using Stripe, say something in there. I'm just trying to look around the room a little bit. But yeah, we can come back to that if there's more Stripe users. And we Stripe is also a partner of the launch program. I've been trying to bring them in to do a workshop as well. So if that's something you guys are interested in, let me know. I do want to get to Alim's question here. He wanted to know how you track your users using it, and maybe just tad more on how you got your first set of customers specifically.
Yeah. So we track them using Mixpanel right now because it's a Figma plugin. We don't have the visibility of, like, usually I'll use something like LogRocket as well to look at individual sessions and see what people are doing. But we don't have these capabilities, so we just use Mixpanel right now. And every morning I actually have a report that goes to me and tells me how happy our users are with the exports that they get, or in a percentage way. So they have a thumbs up, thumbs down on our, every time they finish an export, they give us a thumbs up or thumbs down. And I just look at it and I just try to see that it's at least, hopefully it hovers at least at 75%. Sometimes it hovers less than that. But if you're above 50, technically you can launch. That was our kind of criteria, is when is it good enough? It's like when it was above at least 50%, 75 was our target there. So hopefully that helps you as well.
Cool. And then the question was like, I guess you kind of answered it already. How did you got your first set of customers?
Yeah, it was Twitter.
Yeah.
First set of customers.
Okay. And then, I mean, on those same lines, like one of the things you mentioned was like before you even had the idea for this, obviously you've been in the design community a long time, right? So I feel like that's not even entrepreneurial. That might just be like, your own personal interest, your co-founder's personal interest. And when you wanted to build something for that community, it was kind of natural, and you're not going in with zero, right? Like you know something about the community, you kind of know where the wells and the water coolers are, and where kind of people hang out. For folks that are kind of new to, and let me rephrase this in a couple different ways, right? Because I think, for example, if you for whatever reason decided you want to launch in Asia first, right? The watering holes in the communities for the design community there are very different than the ones here, right? So for those that are, but it doesn't mean you're not passionate about the design community or something like that. But for those types of folks that are entering new markets, like, would there be any tips from your end, or things that you could see, like, maybe we're just doing a live kind of look at like, hey, I want to launch in Asia. What would I do if I don't already know those places?
Yeah, I would start with, I'll just go personally. I'd probably go on LinkedIn, and I would find the people on LinkedIn. And they do a very good job with research in there. You can even try Sales Navigator, but go on LinkedIn and just get on a phone and a call with those people and ask them those questions. Or you don't even need to go on the phone. Just like ask them, like, hey, I'm helping people. Like, what do you guys, where do you hang out online? Like you do have to figure it out, because if your customers don't hang out online, your distribution is going to be really difficult. So generally, I would not go after these markets personally. Mm-hmm. It's not that these markets can be great. one of our companies. I wasn't the CEO. That's why I wasn't the CEO in that company, as all they ordered was alcohol. It was a B2B alcohol company, and all the alcohol producers are listed on the government website. You need to know these things. You can download them, but they're not really on LinkedIn. So you have to call them. We actually had an SDR that would just call them every single day, call these people and pitch them our product itself. So it's a very sales-driven product. Very lucrative, lots of money in that business, and I love that product. But that's not where I shine personally. I just wanted to. I tried doing this, by the way, with the event marketplace that I told you about, event spaces marketplace. I actually got on a call, talked to the venues themselves. It was actually a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. Still, cold calling is hard, but it was a lot easier than I thought it was going to be after the first couple of calls of the day. And people are pretty receptive to it. So yeah, find where they're hanging out online and talk to these folks. There must be a place to hang out online. And if there isn't, you have to think about, do I want to target these people? So marketing people are actually very difficult to target online. I find they don't hang out the same way, and salespeople, they don't hang out the same way that designers hang out. Designers are very special. Everything becomes a wildfire to them once you find a few designers that really care. They want to share that information with other designers. That's why we didn't need to do a lot of marketing ourselves. Our designers did it for us.
Yeah. Do you find that it's more similar to the dev community versus the sales community? Yeah.
It is. A lot of very introverted folks that just want to create stuff and want to be left alone for the most part. Yeah.
And subjectively, I think marketers and sales, like if they find a good tool, it's kind of their competitive edge. So it's not always as likely for me to be like, hey, like this is how I found you through this secret LinkedIn tool that I use that just popped you up to me and I sold stuff to you, right? Like that's less likely versus, when you're a developer, you're a designer, you're like, wow, this saved me 8 hours of time. I'm super happy to share it, right? Because who wants to burn 8 more hours?
Yeah, but those folks still hang out. Like if you're a VP of sales at Hootsuite or something, or a big company, you still hang out with people at other big companies like Lululemon. You'll probably know the VP of sales at that company, right? So you need to figure out where they hang out and be there to talk to them as well. But it might not be as fast to grow, but you're gonna charge them a lot more money as well. So.
Yeah.
Pick your battles.
For sure. And I just reminded myself that our co-founder at Traction, Lloyd Lobo, actually recently released a new book talking about community-led growth. So that kind of ties into what we're talking about here. So I'll give a quick plug to him. Shout out to Lloyd. He's also been on one of our past sessions before. It's only 99 cents right now for the book. So if you guys are kind of interested in digging more into what we're talking about, like that's definitely relevant there as well. I'll just leave the link in the channel. Michael, how can people reach out to you? I guess it's already on the screen. What topics are people interested about in terms of connecting with you, and what are you interested in talking more about?
Yeah, so my top of my mind is fundraising. That's my first time doing fundraising. So that's been a big learning curve, really interesting, especially in this market. It's been, I think, more challenging than usual, but like I have no comparison before. So to me, it's like, I don't know, it's just the way it is. So fundraising, if you want to talk about that and your journey, I'd love to hear kind of, if you know investors that are interested in AI and entertainment, more aspect of things, love to talk to them. Anything about AI, I'm interested to talk to you about animations, AI, product development kind of side of things, like figuring out priorities on product and digital products. I really like digital products there. Yeah, if I can help with anything, just shoot me a message.
Awesome. All right. Thank you so much for kind of sharing it with us today. I really picked up a bunch. Hope everybody that's listening in or rewatching this later will as well. Really appreciate your time again, and thanks for tuning in. I believe next week for launch members here that are live, We do have our pitch practice. So if you're looking for practice on your sales pitch, your investor pitch, please do sign up for that. That session is for you guys and for you to learn from each other as well. And then we do have Alex Benjamin coming in the week after that for his AMA, and he can talk about his entrepreneurship journey coming from Australia to Canada, building and selling a business here, becoming an angel investor, all the while leveraging startup visa. So if any of that resonates with you, make sure you tune in for that week as well. Thanks again, Michael. We appreciate you, and we'll see you again real soon.
Yeah. When is the pitch practice? Is it Wednesday now?
20th. So if you want to hop in on that and give some feedback, absolutely.
That's good.
Yeah. All right.
Thanks, Sam. Thanks,
right,
everybody.
Take care of them.
Bye.
Bye for now.